Hello and welcome to this Orbiter 2016 video series. This is Tex again, and today we're going to tackle part 2 of our flight from the Earth to Mars. So in the previous part we got our XR2 all set up, we put the fuel in, the locks in, calculated everything. So before we actually take off, let me just mention that I made a couple of changes after reflecting on our estimates. Let me just open the spreadsheet for a minute. First of all, concerning the locks and why the spreadsheet was saying we didn't have enough. That was my fault. That was nothing wrong with the spreadsheet, so as usual, my fault. I made a stupid rounding error, a huge rounding error. I put in 238 days when the flight was supposed to take 237.1, so I just, hey, we'll just round up to 238. But I still wanted that 5 days of extra surplus. So that's why it was telling me we didn't have enough locks, because we didn't have that extra 0.9 days in. So anyways, I've corrected that now. So I put 237.1, the actual mission days, plus our 5-day surplus. And then with our internal tanks full at 364 kilograms of locks, and the cargo not full but filled up to 2,776.8 kilograms of locks. That means we are good to go. So you come over here, we're good to go. We go down to the bottom panel and you can see that actually totals 3140.8 kilograms. Alright, so the other change I made is I added some fuel in to our main tanks. Now I did that because, let me go back to the spreadsheet, because I was not comfortable with the predictions, primarily this one right here, because this is the big unknown for me. I'm not as familiar with how much fuel it takes to land on Mars. All I know is that it definitely takes some fuel. Kind of like the moon, because there's no atmosphere, you definitely need fuel to land there. Well, Mars at least has some of an atmosphere, so we can slow down, but we're still going to have to screw up quite a bit of velocity. And then of course we're going to have enough fuel for the hover engines to land on the pad. And I don't want to cut it so close that we have to make this crazy fast descent. So, you know, to play it safe, I went ahead and upped that from 1,000 to 1,800 kilometers per second in delta velocity. Even that may be a little close, I don't know, but I think that should definitely be enough. The other thing I did is I upped the delta velocity estimate for launch to orbit. I'm almost confident it won't take all of that, but whatever we don't use here is a little bit extra we have when we get to Mars. Again, this is the same. I don't anticipate we'll have to do any plane change once we're in our parking orbit. I upped this a little bit from 3,500 to 3,600 for the injection burn, because I anticipated it'll be just over 3,500, but probably not over 36. But we have a little bit in reserve if it should go a little over. Pretty much everything else is the same except for the mid-course corrections, even though I'm not planning on doing any for this one at 100 days out. I went ahead and put the info here, but 0 delta velocity, because we're not going to do anything. So APU fuel remains the same. The first one I'm planning on doing is roughly 230 days out. APU fuel remains the same, 245 kilograms, and I'm anticipating about 20 meters per second for that first course correction. And this one is just going to be to change our trajectory so we don't literally hit the center of Mars, but we move it out toward the atmosphere, if you will. And then we'll do one more course correction when we're almost to Mars, about 5 days out, or I'm sorry, just really about 2 days out. Again, I'm just estimating these days. We'll see how the plan actually plays out when we fly it. APU fuel should be pretty much the same. Actually, I don't need this data over here yet. This is for actual flight, so we'll fill these in throughout the actual flight. And then I'm estimating about 150 meters per second for that final course correction burn. And then once again, 237 days to get to Mars, and APU fuel the same, and that 1,800 kilometers per second to land at Mars. Alright, so I've updated the flight log to indicate that. Over here we have a total of 9,804 kilograms of fuel in the main tank. RCS is full, APU is full, and scram is full for now. Of course, we'll dump any extra scram we have after we get into our parking orbit. Alright, so otherwise we're good to go. I went ahead and updated this already so we wouldn't have to do it again in this video. and we'll just update our flight log after each phase of the flight. So it's time to get off the ground, or at least start getting ready. Go to the glass cockpit and we'll open Interplanetary, and we need to share with the other side. We'll go to Surface Launch, Projection, and we want to look for a 90-degree launch heading. So if I time accelerate, you'll see the time here is counting down, just over 19,000 seconds until our next 90-degree heading launch window occurs. But we're still over a day out from our injection burn. So we don't want to get into our parking orbit too early. So we're going to pass this one up, and we'll see where we stand when the next one comes around. Alright, so a little under 30,000 seconds until the next launch window. So we would obviously want to give ourselves time to get into orbit, so we would launch about 350 seconds out, roughly. So right about now. But it's still May 15th, and our injection date is May 16th, around 10 o'clock and change. So we could actually skip this one and take the next one. So the next 90-degree launch heading at 90 degrees is 20,000 seconds away. So we'll time accelerate. Alright, so this is approaching. Okay, so now it is May 16th. It's 5 o'clock, so we're about 5 hours or so until our injection date. So this one we're going to take. It is time to go. Let's turn APU on. Turn all of our lights on. Everything up here looks good. AF control surfaces on. Surface HUD on. Let's go to Surface MFD there. External cooling off. Alright, let's go ahead and roll.
100 knots. V1. Rotate.
Alright, I just turned on the attitude hold autopilot. Maybe not kosher, but that way I don't have to use the joystick. And we'll just
Gear deployed.
bank over to...
Gear up and long.
I was going a little too fast for the gear there. We're going to bank and get over to 90 degrees. And then pitch up to 40 degrees for a standard orbital insertion. Okay, let's pitch up. And I'll slowly bring the throttle back up as usual as we get up here to 40 degrees. Alright, so let me use rotation RCS here, help keep us yawed over here toward 90 degrees for our relative inclination. So over here on the surface launch program, we're watching EIN, which is our relative inclination. It's yellow right now and says bad plane because we're not quite hitting our target for 90 degrees, but we'll get there. As soon as we get up here, we're going to begin pitching down around 10 kilometers. Now it's green, plane is good. Okay, there's 10 kilometers. Let's begin pitching down. So we're going to pitch down here till we get to around Mach 3.5 or so. Somewhere over 1,000 meters per second, and our scram engines will be of use to us. At the same time, I'm going to yaw as necessary to keep our relative inclination as close to zero as we can. Alright, there's Mach 3. There's the runway right down there. Let's go and open the scram doors. And let's push the scram engines up, pull the throttle back. We have a positive rate of acceleration. And let's pitch our nose down so we're not climbing quite so quickly with those scram engines. So we're looking good. We're on target here. Got some heat on the vehicle at the moment. Not too big of a deal. Nice city lights there. Alright, heat's getting a little warm. I'm going to pitch up just a little bit. We could pull back on the scram engines to compensate for that heat, but we'll just increase our vertical speed for a minute there. And we're probably going to have to pull back on the scram engines just a little bit for a second. Let the vehicle cool down. That's definitely a little warmer than I like to take it, but not too big of a deal. Alright, so we can put those back up. And let's monitor our vertical speed here.
Mach 8. Mach 9.
So if I go to the glass cockpit, of course, make this a little bigger, you can see we have EI in here. Again, that's our relative inclination. So I'm going to yaw as needed to get that to 0. So yawing over to the left is bringing that down. So obviously we want to try and get that right on 0 by the time we're in orbit. We also have our periapsis and apoapsis listed here. So we really don't need the orbit MFD. This is very similar to the orbit MFD. We have the gray circles, the Earth, and the green circle rapidly expanding is our orbit. So I'm going to aim for an apoapsis somewhere around 250 kilometers. Anywhere between 200 and 250 is fine for interplanetary travel. I just want to make sure we get it up high enough that we're not getting any orbital decay. So at least 200. So relative inclination is looking good. Let's get back over here so we can monitor everything. We can pitch down just a little bit. Alright, so we're going to monitor our scram fuel and our diffuser temperature here, our scram diffuser temperature. So whichever one, either the scram diffuser temp's going to overheat or we're going to run out of scram fuel first. One of those two things is going to happen. I don't think I've ever had both of them happen at the same time. Maybe that would be the most efficient launch. I'm not positive on that. So I'm just pitching down a little bit more. We'll keep monitoring relative inclination over there. Otherwise, we're looking pretty good.
Mach 18. Mach 19.
Okay, relative inclination is right on 0 there. It looks like our scram diffuser temperature is about to get into the red.
Warning, scram temperature. Warning, 20 scram temperature.
Okay, let's close our scram doors.
Warning, scram temperature.
Let's dump this extra scram fuel.
Warning, fuel dump. Warning, scram fuel depleted.
Okay, that's gone. Main power goes up. And let's complete the orbit. Pitch up just a little bit. And I'll hop over here so we can see this a little better. We're going to watch our apoapsis and our relative inclination for the final part of the orbit here.
Mach 23. Mach 24.
Oh, relative inclination, wrong direction there. Bring that back down. Okay, apoapsis is above 100K. Alright, there's 260 on apoapsis, and relative inclination is right on 0, so we're good. Get back over here, and we can turn off AF control, turn off attitude hold. Let's check our temperature. We're fine. We can open the radiator. As soon as that finishes deploying, we can turn the APU off. Okay. Alright, so we estimated 245 kilograms of APU fuel remaining, so we're pretty close. That's not too bad. Alright, let's take a look at our numbers and enter it into our flight log. Let's go to burn time, and let's put in our extra RCS mass, 224.7. So that leaves us with a total of 5,750 kilometers per second in delta V. So 5,750. Alright, so we used 2,833 kilometers per second to main engine cutoff. We still have to circularize the orbit, so there's probably going to be about another 100 meters per second. So pretty close to what we estimated at 300. Yeah, okay. Alright, let's take a look at our fuel mass, and this is just for me for reference. So we have 5152.3 in the main tank plus 724.7 in RCS, so that's 5877. So we'll put that in here. Alright, now let's coast up to our apoapsis. We are going to have to circularize the orbit because we're still many hours from the injection burn. So we need to, of course, get into a stable orbit here. And go back over here. Let's open orbit on this side. And we can use interplanetary for that. Alright, so let's coast up to apoapsis here. And let's press H twice. We'll go to the orbit HUD. I'm just going to try and keep us relatively pointed prograde so we don't have to use a bunch of fuel to reorient prograde. Okay, so we're going to watch APT, and then that gets around 15 seconds. We will go ahead and hit the auto burn over there on the circularize interplanetary program. Alright, so that's approaching. There's 15, auto burn. Looks like it was just over 100 meters per second, I believe. Alright, we're all set. So, pitch down a little bit. Alright, let's go back over to burn time. Let's update our RCS, 723.4. Alright, so back to our spreadsheet. And 5640. Not very much at all. Oh, just over 110 meters per second to circularize. Let's see. So it took about 29:43, I guess. And let's see. Let's do our kilograms. Fuel left and kilograms here. 27.8 in the main tank plus 723.4 in the RCS tank is 51.2. 51.2. Alright, so there we go. Let's see. Okay. Alright, so what we need to do now is get around and plan our injection burn. Although we've already sort of found the launch window, we need to fine-tune the plan. I think that's going to take a little bit of time, so probably it's a good idea to go ahead and end this part here. Let me make sure we have interplanetary open so we don't lose any of that data there. And alright. So this is where I'm going to leave it. Let me go ahead and save this right now. There we go. And we'll pick up part 3. We'll go ahead and finish our plan and go ahead and conduct the injection burn to get out to Mars. Alright, listen guys, thanks a lot for watching. As always, I appreciate it. Subscribe for updates if you want to be notified when I upload new videos. Also, I forgot to mention I do have accounts on Facebook and Twitter, so if you on social media you want to follow me over there, that's fine. But I was asking for some input on what day of the week would you guys like to see a weekly video release. So I was trying to get to where I can release one video a week at least. If I have more content, I'll probably release it a little more often, but I figure if I can release at least one video a week, you guys would have a little bit more content on a regular basis. So I was kind of thinking maybe Friday would be a good day, but feel free to leave me comments in the video below or on my social media pages. The links are in the description below. And yeah, let me know, if you have a preference on what day of the week you'd like to see a new video come out. Alright guys, take care, and we'll see you in the next video.